Unfortunately, the set screw for the blade is the part that wears out on lightsabers eventually. It can be re-tapped, but you can also use a very gentle thread lock, chemical thread lock, if it begins to wear. But the best thing to do to keep it from wearing is just don't take the blade out unless you need to. Certainly, if you want to store it or move it, you'll need to take the blade out. But if you don't have to, use it and then store it with the blade in. It'll really improve the life of that set screw. So, we're now going to take this apart. There's not a blade plug in, although it would be if I had stored it. And just remember that this is a LED, not a laser, it's an LED, but it's a very powerful one. So don't stare in the business end and don't shine it in someone's eyes. So, taking it apart, I'll walk through this. First, the pommel comes off, and I'm not going to show this on video, but there's always dirt in the threads, so it's always good to take an old toothbrush or a rag, clean the threads out, put bike grease on the threads. Very important, you don't want the lack up when you put bike grease on the threads when you've got it apart. Always good to do a little cleaning if you can. So, to open the saber up, you do need to loosen the LED set screw. That's going to come undone there. And then, we're going to push out the LED. Let me show you what the LED housing looks like. So we want to push against something that won't hit the lens. And so a marker is a good choice. I'm going to use a plastic cylinder, but you want to make sure you're pushing on the metal edge and not into the lens. And this part is tricky. There's no two ways about it. So again, I'm taking a plastic cylinder, a marker will work. The retention screw is out, the kill key is out. I'm pushing on the metal, not the lens. Then I can go very gently push it out. And always push, never pull. You may need to push on either opposite sides of the lens just so it doesn't sort of bind up on you. And it'll push out. Okay. That is what it looks like on the inside. It's fully functional like this. The case doesn't do anything electrically. And I want to give you a quick tour. So this is the heatsink that holds the LED. So one of these things, you can see there are actually 3 LEDs and lenses in there. The LEDs are on one die. The wiring for the recharge port, which uses a smart lithium-ion charger. The display holder. Now, the display is a standard component. It's not quite the same gauge as the standard header that it connects to. I don't know why, that's a little weird, but that's the way it came. So if you ever lose a row of pixels or something, just gently push on this. You can do it with the case on. Gently push on that to reseat it. And that sits on top of a custom circuit board that was cut on the CNC. Beneath this is the microcontroller, the grinning lizard shield that I make and have fabricated and sent. This is of course the battery and the back speaker. So the one thing you may want to do is reprogram it. So that'll take the Arduino IDE as the easiest way to do it, and opening up a serial connection to the TC35, which is pretty straightforward. It's installing some stuff. But so you gently widen this, pop the speaker out, and now it gives you access to the USB port, which allows you to update the software on the microcontroller or just send the lightsaber commands, and I'll show a demo of that later. But send the lightsaber commands to adjust all its settings. The most important thing, and I cannot emphasize this enough, so once again, the most important thing is this does not take a standard USB. It needs a USB that is data only. It is absolutely critical to not plug in a USB cable that has a power line, because that will short the 5 volt of the USB to the 3 volt of the battery. It's a design flaw, I think, in the microcontroller. It's hard to fix reliably, so I've pushed the problem to the cables. But again, always use a data-only clipped USB cable.
So we are looking at the monitor for the Arduino IDE. The Arduino IDE is the programming environment for the microcontroller, Arduino microcontrollers, that the lightsabers use. And it's connected via a USB cable that's just being used as a serial interface. So there's a program running on the lightsaber, the lightsaber's source code that monitors all its functions and turns it on and off and monitors powers and control the LED that I can now chat to directly. So if I send a status command, it'll tell me that this is the TAN02 using a Cree green, green, blue LED. Audio is on, the current volume, the current G-force settings for motion and impact and all that kind of thing. For a given palette, so this one is set to palette 0, I can request the current blade color, which is currently set to green, change the blade color to anything I want, the impact color to anything I want. The impact color is often called the flash and clash color. It'll show the power draw for the blade color and the impact color. Lots of different commands. It's all documented in the command parser.cpp source file if you want to get into it. But this is how you can go in and type commands and reprogram and reconfigure and change all the settings of the lightsaber.
So we're going to put this back in. Always push, never pull. So it slides in there. Again, the kill key is out. It has to be in order for it to clear the slots. And actually, before I put it in, check to make sure that none of the wires are sticking out. You don't want to get the wires to get caught as it slides back in. This looks good. But you want to go in gently and carefully to make sure nothing gets caught as it goes. Now it's going to go in, and then it will stop because the LED heatsink hits an internal reduction in diameter. So again, something small, gentle, that won't scratch anything. Come in here and just push the LED lens into alignment. Then you can make so small adjustments as it goes in, getting everything lined up, pushing it together. And then what usually happens, you'll get about that far, and you don't want to push on that speaker. So that's what this ring is for. So it won't squish the speaker. Make sure you have good alignment. Gently push it into place. So we're good. Now the kill key can go back in. So that's all set. And now, remember, we cleaned and greased the threads. So turn it to the left until you feel it click into place. Righty-tighty. Now we're going to set the screw that holds the heatsink in place. Again, it's aluminum, so you want this to be firm but not excessive. There we go. We're all set. Lightsaber is good to go and good for use. Enjoy.